allow space to be present for growth to develop. What's up, everybody? My name's Elliot. This is another episode of Urban Sage coming to you live. So I want to talk to you guys about allowing there to be space for new growth to develop. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot, and the importance of it for a new experience to be had, and to really make being in tune with yourself more apparent in your life, and not being so swayed by what is pressed upon you, and really step into what makes you unique and what makes you who you are as an individual. So like when I was tattooing, so I guess before that, there was this idea in my head that I always wanted to be a tattoo artist, and I always wanted to be in that industry, and I just always wanted to have that to be a part of my life. And it wasn't because I was drawing all the time, or it wasn't because I had any real characteristic traits that were representative of the fact that I would really succeed in that field. I mean, I can draw nice, but it wasn't like I was like drawing all the time or whatever. And thinking back, like I used to work at this ice cream place, the frozen yogurt place called TCBY, and one day this couple came in, and they were tatted head to toe, completely covered in tattoos, and like there was like something like very interesting about them that it was very out of the norm, and I felt like I related to them. And I must have been like 14 or 15, and it really interested me, and I really wanted to like dive into that culture, and like I really almost impressed this idea onto myself, and I held it so closely that I really didn't have any of my own space to form my own opinion of what I really valued or what I was really interested in. I said, that's cool. I want to be a part of that. So I just held it super close, and I just, I wanted to be a part of that. And eventually I did, right? I was tattooing, and like, I was tattooing, right? And I was fulfilling this vision of myself, and, I still wasn't fulfilled. I was still like, what is going on here? Like, why am I not feeling as fulfilled or as well as I thought I would be? And I had to really take a step back. I had to allow space to be present for me to grow. And so there's 3 real essential aspects of allowing growth to develop through creating space. And those 3 are: take a step back, be in tune with yourself, and have faith. So in taking a step back, you really, like, existentially and metaphysically, you really actually put distance between what you're involved with and yourself. And like it's almost like taking a vacation from what it is that you're involved with, whether that be an idea. Like it tends to happen in religion a lot. I don't know if that's because it's just such a impressed upon idea, but a lot of people have this idea of religion forced upon them, and then they rebel against it because they don't really have any conception of their own that they can call their own and say, no, I do believe in this, I do believe in that. And because they don't have that, they rebel against it. So in taking a step back, you actually develop this space for you to acknowledge what it is that you're interested in. Because if you are really interested in something, even if there is space there, even if you take 2 weeks off, even if you start to focus on something else, or divert your attention elsewhere, you create a space between you and, what you may be questioning, and what it is that you may have, some, I don't know, maybe some disease about, whether that's your career or a relationship or a thought. you see it a lot in relationships because they're like, let's take some time off. Let's take a week apart. And if that relationship is actually really strong, they come back together, right? But developing that space really allows, it's like an acid test. It really allows the quality of the relationship to be distinguished. Because if it is something that you really hold true to yourself, you're going to resort back to it, right? But creating that space is the first essential key for that behavior of like going back to be interacted with. Otherwise you're just always a part of it and you can't go back to something you're always a part of, right? So you need to take that step back. And then, so take a step back is the first step to develop a space for growth to be present. And so the second is be in tune with yourself, because when you take that step back, you're going to have a whole new sense of feelings, emotions, ideas, and without being able to distinguish what it is that you're feeling and what your emotions are in regards to removing this attribute of who you are out of your life, you're not going to know whether or not you should go back and be involved with it or move on to something else. And really listening to yourself and being aware of what your feelings are is going to be the telltale signs of whether or not you should, either get more engaged with whatever that thought, behavior, relationship is, or maybe move on to something else. And just really being aware of how the absence of something is affecting you, because then you know whether or not you value it or not, and can distinguish what that next step is. And so that brings me to my third is you have to have faith. So after you take a step back and after you be in tune with yourself and analyze what action you want to take, in taking that action, you have to have faith and say, you know what, I actually do really value this. Maybe this is just a hard time that me and this thing is going through. Maybe I'm not being involved with it as much as I could be or should be or whatever. And you say, you know what, like regardless of the circumstances right now, I'm going to get more involved with it, or I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to have faith, and I'm going to get more involved with it, and I'm going to throw myself into this process of development and see where that takes me. Or you have faith that in a regard where you say, you know what, maybe this really isn't for me. Maybe this relationship or this job or this behavior isn't something that I want to keep in my life. And then, before you embrace the next thing, you have faith that either it's going to fulfill you in the way that you felt like you were lacking with that other thing that you're moving away from, or you have faith that it's going to get you closer to having an understanding of what will fulfill you or what will provide you with what you're searching for. And then you just kind of like live your life. Like you take action in focus of achieving whatever you have faith in. But you have to have faith, because otherwise emotions and circumstances and obstacles they're more than likely going to deter you, because it's a new emotion and it's a new feeling, it's a new environment. And when something's unfamiliar, it's much more difficult to stay in contact with it. So taking a step back, being in tune with yourself, and having faith are three of the quintessential attributes for allowing space to be present for a growth to develop, because you have to keep that space open for a new understanding, a new growth to really transpire. It, I don't know if it's you see it in trees. Like, you actually see this behavior in trees that they if you plant trees next to each other, they grow to a diameter in correlation to how closely they are to another tree. Like, if you plant a tree alone in a field, it's going to grow to its maximum capacity. But if you plant two trees right next to each other, they almost like have like this awareness of the other tree next to each other, and they don't grow to their maximum capacity. They actually acknowledge that the other tree is there, and they kind of grow in congruency and appreciation for the space that the other tree is taking up. And I believe the same is with other relationships and ideas and behaviors. When you're so close to an idea or behavior or relationship, your ability to really grow in that area is stunted. And taking a step back, it really almost puts you in that field. And if it really is an attribute or whatever, a relationship or a behavior or whatever, if it really is something that you want to flourish within yourself, you're going to maximize your growth. You're going to show up for the occasion, or really reach the limits of your potential, and embrace whatever that is as a true aspect of who you are. So I never would have gotten to this place of clarity of saying, like, tattooing is not for me, and embark on this journey of coaching people and writing a book and developing this personal development company called Urban Sage. And in case, I'm just going to plug myself real quick. In case you don't know, Urban Sage is about developing your gifts so you can provide them in a way that allows someone else to grow who they are. There's a bunch of examples, but let's say whoever created the paintbrush made it in thought of an artist so they could paint something beautiful, or whoever thought of the knife, like the cutlery, thought of a chef so they could make food more easily for someone else. And so, like, the artist and the chef can really express their true gifts to their maximum capacity, right? And then if you are that painter, if you are that chef, really showing up in your most well-to-do attributes, and show up in a way that allows someone else to have a better understanding of who they are. Like, paint subject matter that really awakens a person's soul, or make food that really brings people together and unites them. But so that's what being an urban sage is all about: taking your gifts so you can provide to someone else so they can better themselves, almost like a pay it forward type of mentality. But so if I never took a step back and was in tune with myself and had faith of all of this, I never would have been able to show up in this light. So when you are initially taking a step back and embracing a space for a new growth to develop, know that it's going to allow you to show up in your life in a completely different attribute and an aspect, because that growth is going to lead to something that you don't have right now. So I highly encourage everyone to pause and really analyze what it is about something that they really value, or or take a step back and ask themselves what causes them to question this thing in their life. Because when you gain that growth, it provides a new sense of clarity and understanding for you to be in tune with whatever that is more well or differently, and really grow as an individual. So allowing space to be present for growth to develop is such a key attribute that I really hope that everybody gets involved with and practices, because then you can really develop who you are in one of the most effective, successful, and exponential ways. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. My name's Elliot. This is another episode of Urban Sage. If you could drop a like, drop a comment, you could follow me on Instagram at urban_sage_, and subscribe. I'm gonna be doubling down on all the content I'm putting out. So if you like what I have to say, please subscribe, share, like, comment, all that good stuff. And thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, bye.